Everyone knows the housing market has sucked for those trying to buy a house. But according to experts, potential home buyers might be in for a treat in 2025.
Is that so?
Now, we just want to say sorry now to all of you housing market nerds for the fact that we can't give 15 minutes worth of stats. We have other topics to get to. But everyone wants to know, will it become easier to buy a house in 2025? Well, the answer is a little bit. Here's the deal. Key indicators like mortgage interest rates, home prices, and home inventory have been slowly improving over the course of this year. Just a year ago, in October 2023, the average 30-year mortgage interest rate rose to above 8%, aka a lot. For reference, an example is a $250,000 mortgage at a 4% interest rate would earn you a monthly payment of roughly $11.90 a month. But at a 6% interest rate, that same loan would cost approximately $14.40 a month. So as you can see, if you didn't know, that 8% interest rate would take a pretty penny extra from your pocket. Today, as of the making of this video, rates are sitting between about 6.20% and 6.85%, depending on the source, and they fluctuate pretty regularly. Economists, realtors, and other market experts are hopeful that this trend will continue into 2025. So that means we should be too, I guess. But what about the actual amount of houses that are out there? According to data from the National Association of Realtors, housing inventory has also improved. Now, if you aren't familiar, the way that this is calculated can seem weird and complex. Okay, touche, market nerds, we need you now. But this stat is reported in the form of months. Housing inventory is basically calculated by how long it would take to sell all of the active listings or homes currently for sale at the end of each month. This is where we can indicate whether it's a buyer's or a seller's market. So what's the stats? Right now, we can report to you with confidence that inventory is in fact improving going into 2025, with a 4.3 month supply worth of houses reported at the end of September this year, which is much better than the 3-month supply or so that was reported in late 2023 to early 2024. More months means there's more houses to sell, and more options, therefore, for home buyers. But this doesn't address what's one of the biggest concerns for home buyers, and that is maintenance. Like, how are we going to keep up the lifestyle that we have after we buy this house? And for that, we broadened our research to see what we can all expect from inflation in 2025. With stats like these from the last few years looming over our heads, everyone is wondering, will 2025 bring some respite from high inflation, high cost of living, $7 eggs, $20 quote-unquote value meals? Oh, sorry, we got carried away. The most recent research reports good news in comparison to the last few years. The Federal Reserve, aka the USA's central bank in DC, or in other words, the Mac Daddy of all banks, targets a 2% inflation rate as the sweet spot for the US economy. And as of November 2024, we are sitting at a 2.6 inflation rate, a significant decrease compared to the first couple years after the pandemic, and apparently this is the lowest rate that we've seen since 2021. So yeah, hooray for that. We'd say that's a pretty good place to start in terms of inflation for 2025. This chart from October 2021 to October 2024 shows just how much these numbers have dropped. Numbers got as high as in the 9s for inflation rates in recent years. I remember that. Do you guys remember in 2022 when gas prices were so high you couldn't tell your monthly gas expenses from your car note? Ah, good times. When you try to search for inflation forecasts for 2025 right now, the verdict is still yet to be produced for many sources. But the sources we did find seem to state that the U.S. economy and therefore inflation will continue to get better in 2025. One site reporting an estimate of 2.2 for PCE inflation this upcoming year, which, if you remember, is close to that 2% goal. Now, I know, pause, we used a term that we didn't explain, be patient. Quick inflation terms breakdown. PCE, and another acronym like it that you'll probably come across when studying inflation, called CPI, are just, in layman's terms, metrics that are used to measure how much people are paying for things these days, and they use that to therefore calculate and estimate inflation. Woo! Okay, now that we've nerded out just a little bit, and you're basically a novice economist now, let's move on to something that both housing market followers and economists care about, and everyone else in the world, because we literally need it to live. That is, unless you're a SpaceX robot. If you thought inflation was bad these last couple years, you're right. But grocery bill costs were even worse, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They report that grocery bills were increasing at a rate of 25% compared to inflation's 19%. We won't bore you with the intricacies of how that happens or a history of grocery prices every year since your grandma was born, but will it become easier to pay for groceries in 2025? Well, my friends, sadly we can't have all good news for you, as much as we'd like to. Many sources, like more economists as well as people involved in the food industry, are reporting that grocery prices will sadly probably continue to rise.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That includes predictions like this one in this article from Walmart's CEO, with the article overall concluding that Americans, in quote, shouldn't expect to see drastic price cuts in 2025, end quote. Take a breath. I know. Call your therapist. We'll make it through this. There is some hope on the horizon for stabilization, at least, with one economist we found predicting that maybe grocery prices won't rise in 2025, but they probably won't drop either, therefore becoming stable. Well, at least then we could get used to the $7 eggs instead of them, becoming $8, $9, $10 eggs. Nah, but there's one huge unknown factor that we haven't mentioned yet that could flip all of these predictions on its head. That's right, if you haven't caught on yet, we're talking about the president-elect of the United States. A new presidency will undoubtedly affect all of these sectors. Or will it? If not politics, then how will other revolutionary developments, we mentioned Elon Musk's robots earlier, affect all of our 2025? Jobs? AI? Let's meet again to discuss in part 2. For now, if you are the market nerd, or any other kind of nerd, or just someone who wants to chime in for that matter, let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe and leave a like, as those simple actions, guys, are huge in helping us to build our channel and get more information out in a fun way to people just like you. This was Today TV, and we'll see you again soon.